Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our Fireside Chat with the Dean of the Olin Business School at Washington University, Mark Taylor, and a Professor of Practice and the Academic Director of the Entrepreneurship Program at Olin, Doug Villhard. Welcome, guys.
Hi, good to be here.
So first of all, let me just say congratulations. I mean, we rigorously look at entrepreneurship programs, at MBA programs all over the world. And it is amazing that a school in the Midwest, not in Silicon Valley, not in Boston, not anywhere in Europe, turned out #1 for 2 years in a row. And I think it goes to the ecosystem that WashU has essentially created in and around the St. Louis metro area that really speaks to the liveliness, the dynamic nature of the program, and how it's had a tremendous impact even beyond the students that go through it. So let's just start with the basics. How long has the program been around, and who tends to be attracted to it?
Well, thank you, John. And let me say also, it's a great honor for WashU Olin to win this award, and especially given some of the really strong competition. So yeah, the program's, I guess it really gained traction around about 2008 when we, if you want to have a landmark, when we hired a dedicated faculty advisor for entrepreneurship. And like Doug, he was himself a startup entrepreneur and an Olin MBA alum. And then following that, we had introduced quite a few new courses in entrepreneurship, along with the integration of entrepreneurship throughout the MBA curriculum. It's actually baked in rather than bolted on. Prior to that, Olin had a part-time faculty advisor just teaching 2 courses related to entrepreneurship. But also, I think one of our one of the hallmarks, one of the elements of our program is what we call the hatchery, right? This is a startup business planning course, and we're one of the first university, one of the first business schools to kick off a startup business planning course. And startups generated in that hatchery course have raised something like $70 million, created over 450 positions just here in St. Louis, and have filed for quite a number of patents as well. So I guess that we're going back like 10, getting on to 15 years now. In terms of who's attracted, I suppose. Well, thank you for giving more publicity to our program. But we do have a reputation in this area, as in other areas. But one of the elements, one of the key kind of pillars of excellence of our school is entrepreneurship. And given the reputation of our program, we do find that a lot of our MBA students are attracted here, are interested in taking courses in the entrepreneurship program, in order to understand that and develop that mindset. Fostering an entrepreneurial spirit, innovative thinking, and think about how we draw, as you said, on the ecosystem, the infrastructure we have in entrepreneurship and innovation here in St. Louis. Our students are clearly, we kind of motivate them, if you like, to fall in love with customers' problems, right? Think about innovative ways to solve those problems. And we have a very, very, we have an analytic. We like to think of ourselves being values-based, data-driven, right? So we think hard about what we're trying to provide as an organization, but also very, very analytic. And that goes right through everything we do, including our entrepreneurship programs.
I think the importance, too, of entrepreneurship goes beyond people who want to start a business, right? Because every company, every organization wants people who are entrepreneurial minded, who can do things with limited resources and do things without hurdles in their way to get stuff done. I mean, that's the essence of being an entrepreneur. Now, Doug, you can speak from actual practice, having launched several companies yourself. How would you say the Olin program or Olin approach to entrepreneurship differs from other schools?
Well, something we're really proud of, and the dean was talking about it, is really pushing the entrepreneurial mindset here. And, at any company, there's 1 or 2 founders, right? And tens of thousands of employees. So I think people have a misconception sometimes that entrepreneurship is only about starting companies. Our program is also about being really innovative and creative within larger organizations. So corporate innovation, if you will, intrapreneurship, if you will. We also have a lot of our graduates go into venture capital, where they invest in great ideas. And I'm particularly proud of all of our entrepreneurs, what we call social entrepreneurs. So they're definitely have for-profit businesses, but they're very, very focused on making the world a better place at the same time. So I think that's what makes us different. Is it's not just the startups, although we've been very successful with that, but it's getting people to think innovatively, creatively, entrepreneurially throughout their entire careers.
Right. And Mark, when you think about what you've done in this area of entrepreneurship, what are you most proud of?
I guess so. I guess it's just really having this entrepreneurial mindset, as you say, that runs through the program completely in terms of startups. It could be new companies, but it also just be if you're going to work for a large organization, having this controlled risk-taking, opportunistic in a very positive sense kind of idea. So that is a hallmark of our students. I think also the way our students are engaged with the local, the infrastructure here, the ecosystem, if you like, the innovation centers, the communities here in St. Louis, but also at the same time, how our students have a global mindset and are thinking about, what does it mean? And right now they're thinking, what does it mean to be global in this post-pandemic world, and what kind of innovations will that bring? So constantly thinking about how to push forward the frontiers.
The other thing I would say, when as an outsider looking in, I would say that St. Louis has a very vibrant business community, and they're incredibly supportive in ways that in other big cities around the world, there is not as much alignment between a business school that's at the center of the business community and the actual practitioners in the field at different companies, at different startups, at different ventures. I sense that in St. Louis, there is very tight alignment between the school and the business community.
Yes, yeah, let me address a little bit of that, and then Doug can say a little bit more. I mean, certainly, there's a traditional kind of Fortune 500 set of companies based in St. Louis, and that's been shifting over time. But we still have a very, very strong relationship with those organizations. But at the other end, we have business incubators, we have so-called Cortex, T-Rex, these communities based here, which we're also very, very heavily involved with as well, right? So engaging with that community has been very, very, it's vitally important to the school. We do like to think of ourselves as a global business school, but very much based in the region as well. Would you agree? Would you agree, Doug?
I would, and I would say St. Louis is this really interesting place where it's small enough that you can really get into the ecosystem and make a difference, but it's also big enough to make a difference as well. And we're really excited at Olin. The experiential opportunities that we have are amazing. And many of our classes have a simple premise. Put the students in with a startup over the course of a semester to both see what that is like, see if that's a career that they would like, and also to make a difference, to do a consulting project for them. So I think those are just some of the ways that we intertwine greatly here in St. Louis. And I can tell you those is, as great as a professor as I would love to be and lectures and such like that, there's nothing like getting out in the field for these students and seeing what it's really like with startups. And that's a really special thing that happens here in St. Louis.
Now let's pretend I'm an incoming MBA student and I want to use your program to literally incubate my business.
Yeah.
What will that be like? What kind of courses will I take? I mean, obviously I'm going to be in the hatchery, which Mark mentioned earlier, but what kind of courses will I take, and what kind of guidance will I get from the professors at Olin?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, of course, we have our famous hatchery course where students basically come in and pitch ideas on day one, form teams, and see how far they can take them throughout the semester.
And is that a business only course, or do you bring in people from engineering or computer science?
Yeah, that's the best part about it. And that's the best part about our school, having not just world-class business school, but world-class engineering school, law school, medical school, and I'm going to leave some out, but having all of those students together is what really makes that special. Also, part of our curriculum is embedding you with startups in the field, as I talked about before. We also have a lot of theory classes too. We do a tremendous amount of research on entrepreneurship here as well, and bring that in through lectures and course materials. But one of my favorite things too is a tremendous amount of competitions here on campus. Anything from a simple elevator pitch to a full out business plan as well. And those kind of stepping stones, if you will, John, really prepare these students, not just to launch these companies in an accelerator type model, but also to communicate in such a way that they can pitch new ideas should they work in a big corporation, for example, and learn how to really fall in love with the problem, like the dean was talking about, and then find really unique ways to solve them. So I think altogether, those are the things I think we're proud of and makes our program really fun.
Mark, what kind of demand have you seen for entrepreneurship courses and thinking?
Well, I'd say pretty strong, actually. I mean, we our excuse me, our MBA program also has a global immersion component. So, that combined, I think the entrepreneurship and the global aspect of the program have been very, very attractive. This year we're thinking about what it means to be global and how we can shrink the world, even if you like, during this period of travel lockdown. But yeah, it's been pretty buoyant.
Because actually, even in your global immersion program, you had immediate exposure to the entrepreneurial mind and the entrepreneurial thinking. I recall that in Spain, you ventured into a different, I think it was wineries, I believe, and which are small businesses. And actually, even more interestingly to me, you looked at expansion plans for a startup or small company in St. Louis in Shanghai.
That's exactly right. That's right. So the initial part was spent in near Barcelona, actually, that's the one of the wine producing regions of Spain. Frequently speaking to small wineries and thinking about how they could expand their business, and particularly how some of the wineries wanted to penetrate the United States market, and thinking about that as a consultancy project for our students, really within the first few weeks even of their program. As you're right, then thinking about how a small business here in St. Louis could expand its market into China. That was the second project that was done in China. But now we're thinking, I think that part of innovation entrepreneurship is it comes from, if you like, from the idea of creative destruction, right? That things happen in the economy that create the need for solutions, right? To new problems as older ways of doing things become outmoded. And I think we're going to see that, right? During this pandemic period, people are actually thinking about new ways of doing business. So new needs that aren't satisfied, old solutions that aren't working anymore. So we do expect there to be a wave of innovation, entrepreneurialism. We expect our students to be involved in thinking about that. In terms of also about the globalization. I was just talking earlier this week about how we could hook up some of our students up with entrepreneurs in Israel, right? One of the great startup nations of the world. Obviously, they're not allowed. They can't travel there at the moment. So we're actually doing Zoom conferences and thinking about consultancy projects for our students with entrepreneurs in Israel, or getting talks from entrepreneurs in Israel as well to give their reflections on this process during this time of creative destruction. So I think the world is constantly changing and evolving. I think at the moment we're going through a period of rapid change, and then rapid change calls for innovation and imagination, and students will be thinking about that.
And Doug, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you often see opportunity in crisis. And we can certainly see plenty of crisis around us today, which I would imagine can translate into a lot of opportunity in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's also really fun right now, John, is not just a great time for innovation, but the virus has actually made the world a little bit smaller, in the sense that it's actually easier for us to get people to talk to. For example, in our classes where we bring in mentors it used to be limited a little bit to who was available that day or could come in the classroom that day. So it's really another innovation of business programs now is the whole world is open to me and open to my students for collaboration and for meeting people and for testing ideas out. And honestly, even in the businesses that I own, we're actually getting meetings quicker now than we used to in this environment too. So it's just been a really fascinating time to both teach this and to watch the world evolving around at the same time and to watch how universities are adapting as well. So it's really a fun time.
For sure. Now, Mark, are there certain sectors that graduates of the MBA program have tended to gravitate to if they've actually pursued an entrepreneurial track?
Well, we have a number of recent grads who've gone on to create organizations, right, with some impact, right? So, Brian Porter, one of our MBAs from just 2020, actually conceived his startup. Was it Hum Industrial Technology, right? And we have a seed fund. In fact, Cliff Holcamp, his family provide a foundation for seed funds. And that's working really well. And that's in the area of tech. Then we have another student who's really set up a pop-up micro boutique, right? Megan Berry, one of our MBAs from 2015, with kind of handmade, sustainable, timeless pieces. We have Ken Mao, our MBA from 16, has a subscription-based meal delivery service for corporate health and wellness initiatives. I don't know. What do you think, Doug? We have quite a few more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really neat thing here, John. Is it's not just tech, and it's not just industry or industrial, but we have fashion designers coming out of here. We have food companies. We have just about every sector, and I think that makes it a really fun place to be. And I wish I would have answered one of your questions earlier slightly differently when you asked me some of the best things about our program. It's actually our students. And the reason I say that is this is not a group that is in competition with each other. They actually collaborate with each other. So not only do they help each other out on their own ideas, but we see a lot of them co-founding companies here as well. So it's a really neat place to be because of the variety of industries and because folks want to work together. I think it makes Olin a really special place.
And Doug, beyond the basics of how to put together a business plan, pitch it to potential investors, the basics of, let's say, entrepreneurial finance. Mm-hmm. Are there soft skills that are taught in the program?
Yeah. So hopefully you think this is kind of fun, but when we start out, we say you can't spell the word hustle without STL, right? Which is St. Louis. So teaching them to hustle, and we've taken back that word and made it a good thing. Teaching them to be confident, to go out, to network, to make things happen for themselves, to not be shy. And these are things we start right out in the first semester. Some of the things you were talking about in Spain and in Shanghai, we talk about it a little bit in class, and then we go out and make it happen. So those are the things that I'm most proud of, putting students in those kinds of real world situations pretty quickly and watching what they do with it.
So if I had the chance to come to campus, which I have been on the campus many times, and I love WashU, love the layout of the place, and the business school has a spectacular building, multiple buildings, and I might add, a great English pub. But if I were to come to campus, one of the things I most enjoy is sitting around the table with a few students or graduates and asking them to identify the 3 things that most resonated with them about the MBA program. In this case, if I were to sit around 3 entrepreneurial-minded students about to graduate, what are the 3 things they would tell me about the program that really made a difference for them? Mark?
Well, certainly, I guess a well-rounded, comprehensive understanding how an enterprise works. Right, I think that's very important. I think this, how to frame business questions, right, and how to address them. thinking about our our values-based, data-driven approach, right? So thinking about how we frame a problem, how we analyze it analytically, and how we stand back and think about how our values apply to that, right? I think having access to a real world thriving innovation infrastructure here in St. Louis, even our professor of practice is a member of that innovation infrastructure. He's a serial entrepreneur, as it were, right? So being able to speak to people in real time that are doing this both here, and also the global linkages that we've developed across the world, and to think about this internationally as well.
Doug, do you have a sense of the three things as well?
Yeah, I do. I would echo what he said. So we'll make it 6, I guess, or a combination of that. But I think they will tell you the courses are challenging, and fair and experiential, and just the experience that they love. I think they'll tell you our ecosystem, both in St. Louis, as we talked about, but also our alumni network across the world, and how open it is to students, and how that can help advance their businesses and their careers and their opportunities. And then the third thing, which I mentioned, is I think they'll say, Mark, I think they like us. I think they like the dean. I think they like the professors. I think they like the school, but the relationships they make with their fellow students, they really take with them for the rest of their careers. And I don't know, the school's just done a really good job of bringing together curious and creatively minded students together. And I think they would say their classmates, John, are a big part of this as well.
Yeah, I think, in fact, when I visited the campus last time and I spoke to people on the global immersion, that was the big takeaway. The social bonding and connections that occurred being away from school and traveling abroad in different locations really, really meant a lot to them.
Yeah.
And it really enhanced the learning in ways that, sitting in a classroom could never do it, So it's those social connections that you make in school that last a lifetime. These are enduring friendships, but more than that, it's an enduring support network for people, which is really the most valuable part of, or at least certainly one of the most valuable parts of an MBA experience. So let me ask you, over the next 3 years, how do you think this is all going to evolve? What changes might you see in how you teach entrepreneurship, how you approach the subject? Do you think that this is something that's going to actually get even more popular than it already is? What's your take?
Well, I can repeat a little bit of what I said earlier about, this is a period of creative destruction. Like, this time is creating a period where there will be a great deal of innovation and thoughts about, what this new world will look like. And we've tried to do that within the school ourselves, right? We're thinking about different, we think about a firefighting horizon when we're trying to deal with the crisis initially. Then the second horizon was raising our game and making sure we get all our programs being able to be taught effectively and looking after the well-being of our students. But we're thinking about this third horizon. What will this new world look like coming? That will transpire as we come out of the pandemic. And our students will be working in real time, working with the ecosystem here, working with serial entrepreneurs and thinking with us actually about what that will be, right? And we are innovating ourselves in the way we deliver programs in business education. The school will be launching 3 online master's degree programs next year. And then the way we deliver those will be in very, very innovative, state-of-the-art ways. So I think one aspect is really reacting in real time to what's been happening to the world. And again, just thinking about what it means to be global in that post-pandemic environment. And as Doug said, the world has shrunk in some ways, right? So we already had linkages across the world, but we will actually think about how we can enhance those linkages, new ways of working together, both across the continent and across the globe, right? Whether it's Silicon Valley, New York City, Israel, or Shanghai, that will be an even stronger component of our program going forward.
Doug, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, on the future of our program, of course, everything that the dean said. And I'll just be a little tactical, in the classroom, if you will. Again, I think we're seeing more and more partnerships across WashU. So pairing business students with medical students, pairing business students with engineering students and putting those minds together for good. I was just seeing a lot more access to capital too. Something that's really been fascinating. I've watched it happen a lot in St. Louis and across the industry, but to have more and more people that want to back our students and what they're doing. So capital has really been fascinating. And then lastly, I'll just say that John, I'm going to come out of this teaching a little bit differently than I did in the past. I wouldn't say guilty of it, but I would say that we were trying so hard in the classroom, if we had a session with outside experts, to bring them in, and that just scheduling issues, whether they could make that time and such like that. And just the other day, I was able to bring in 67 industry mentors for my hatchery class, breaking them out into smaller digital rooms for them to really interact with students in a way I might not have tried, before the pandemic. So we love our in-person stuff, of course, but I think we're going to merge it going forward. And I think it's going to create some rich opportunities for our students too.
Yeah, definitely what we are going through right now will change what we do in the future, and for the better. I think we've learned how to be more comfortable with technology. At the same time, we also maybe even have a better understanding of the limits of technology for that matter. But it will inform how we move forward. Now, I also think that, and I want to get your take on this, that one of the areas where MBAs have played small roles, but will likely play much larger roles in the future, and this goes to startup activity as well, is the healthcare field. Healthcare is a massive part of our GDP. It's a massive part of basically the way we live and the way we work and the way we play. And as there's more disruption in that industry, as is inevitable, I think there will be far more opportunities for MBAs to do startups, to enter early stage healthcare companies. They're going to revolutionize the way we think about healthcare, the way we accept healthcare, the way we pay for healthcare, the way we access those services. Doug, as an investor and a VC and a serial entrepreneur, do you agree or not?
Oh, of course I agree. Healthcare is such a big part of our economy. Another a neat thing about Olin, not just having the med school, but many of our residents, our med students, take a break for a year and come over and get an MBA.
Right.
With us. And they are rich in the classroom. They are rich contributors. And in almost all cases, those in my entrepreneurship class, they end up leading a team that their other MBAs join. And I get really excited about those, not just for the opportunity for them to create a company and to generate money and return and such like that, but they really have a chance to change the world and change people's lives in a great way. So completely agree, and I love our ecosystem for that already. And Dean, I think you would attest, we have a lot of plans to even continue to expand that.
Yeah, they're absolutely right. So I think you're kind of reading our mind there, John. I mean, we have an ecosystem here in entrepreneurship and innovation in St. Louis. We also have a big healthcare ecosystem as well. One of the world's great hospitals, WashU Medical School, one of the top hospitals. We also have some major healthcare companies located here, like Centene, for example. We actually have a task force actually working on thinking about now how we can develop greater links with the healthcare industry. And we're working with the Brookings Commission in Washington, D.C., through the Brookings Institution, where we have a close relationship, to develop a commission to actually think about what healthcare will look like going forward. And we have expanded our joint MD-MBA program. So we do expect this to be a growth area, exactly for the reasons you're saying, in our MBA and our orientation of business school in general, and in entrepreneurship in particular.
That also reinforces the notion that in the future, more than ever, entrepreneurship in the business school will be an interdisciplinary practice. I mean, we talked just very briefly about this earlier in the conversation, but you get a bunch of business students in a room, and that's all great, but they may not have the engineering skills, the medical skills, the skills in biology or the other sciences. to really make any headway when you're talking about sophisticated launches of products or services. So increasingly, you know, branching out. I mean, originally, as we all know, business schools often were isolated on the university campuses. They often were on the periphery. Now they're becoming more and more the center of the university and bringing together these different disciplines to do new and different things and to bring even more viewpoints and diversity into the class.
That's absolutely right. And actually, we do have the Scandalaris Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship actually based here on campus, whom we work closely with, that it actually acts as a kind of clearinghouse and helps us to connect across the campus as well.
And brings all these different people into the building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like a magnet, which is fantastic. Okay, so what advice would you have for someone who's interested in your programs, and in particular, entrepreneurship program? What are the steps that they should take to make sure they're making a really good decision for themselves and to make sure that they are the right fit for Olin?
Well, I think we do have a very definite culture at Olin. We are very collaborative, very supportive. You know, often when I like to give one of the first lectures to a class, and I will say, you know, look around. I want you to look around the class right now because two reasons. One is because you know, some of the innovators of tomorrow, some of the leaders of tomorrow, many of the leaders of tomorrow are sitting right here in this room with you. And I want you to think back this time, you know, 5 years hence. But also because the people you're looking at in the room here are your collaborators. These are people that are going to be with you as you go through your program here, who are going to be with you as you become part of our alumni network going forward. Right. So we do have this very, very supportive, values-based culture, and that I think that's, you know, sometimes different from other schools. But remember, we are very, very competitive as well. So I always like to say, you know, I would not like to be up against any of these guys in the market, but I want any one of them on my team, right? So thinking about, you know, how you want to fit into that culture, this values-based, you know, very data-driven culture is very important, and also thinking about how you constantly innovate and constantly thinking about, you know, hustling, if you like, right? You can't spell hustle without STL. So if you're going to come here to St. Louis and work with us at WashU, we want you to be values-based, data-driven, and constantly hustling and thinking about ways you can change the world for good.
True. And in this time when it's harder to visit campus and sort of have a coffee with a student or, you know, be a fly on the wall in a classroom, you can do it virtually. You can contact alums. You can contact people who started businesses right out of the school directly. And I will say one thing about Olin and St. Louis, your call will be welcome.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it will be answered. Your emails will be answered. And that goes a long way. You know, I think, Mark, you said this, it's Midwest hospitality combined with a global outlook creates a sort of magical environment for people.
Absolutely.
So Mark and Doug, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I really enjoyed it. And I hope all of you out there have as well. Again, congratulations. 2 years in a row, best MBA in the world for entrepreneurship. That is really an amazing achievement given the competition you're up against and given your location, really. There are schools in my backyard here in the Bay Area that would be very envious.
Thank you, John. Thank you,
Great
John.
honor. Great to be with you. Thank you.
By the way, I think the best is still yet to come for us. So, we're going to keep innovating.
Doug, I like that you're going to make that happen.
Yeah, you betcha. We're just getting started. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching our Fireside Chat with Mark Taylor, the Dean of the Olin Business School at Washington University, and Doug Villhard, who is the Academic Director of the Entrepreneurship Program, and just as importantly, a professor of practice who has loads of experience in entrepreneurship, having launched several companies himself. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.